So Ansel Adams was right when he said landscape photography is the supreme test of the photographer and most often the supreme disappointment. If you're like me, you've been in front of a scenic location that is incredibly beautiful and you come back to your monitor and you look at your image and the first thing you think is, what the f***? So I can't help with that, but I can show you how to use a gradient map adjustment layer to create your own custom color gradients to make the image be what you want it to be. To take this image and make it look like this one, or this one, or this one. What's the question? Are you ready? It's Photoshop time, and you know the drill. Smack it, whack it, and crack-a-lack it.
Yes! That's awesome! What?
So once your image is open in Photoshop, make it look good. It doesn't have to be perfect. Fix the things that are obvious. Like right away, I've got tourist in this image. So I would go over and go ahead and remove those with a spot healing brush. Just paint them out. Right bracket key to get a bigger spot healing brush. Chances are this isn't going to work. Spot healing brush doesn't do well with edges. Didn't do too bad though. If it didn't do well, I would just hit S for the clone stamp tool, hold down the Alt or Option key, and use this bullseye to click. Right bracket key to reset my brush size a little bigger. And I would just follow that horizon line over and just repaint out the people that were in the way. So now looking at this, what's the next global photography issue? It's very flat, right? And you can tell that just by adding a levels adjustment layer. It's going to show you the histogram. And notice I'm missing 30% of the tones in this image. And the quickest fix is just to grab the white point slider and drag it to the base of the mountain. That will immediately fix the contrast and brightness deficiencies. The midpoint slider always recalibrates between the black and white points evenly. So you may want to pull down the midtones a little bit to get some of that deeper color saturation like you had a polarizer filter on. This will be a good opportunity to come back to this background image if you wanted to brighten up some of these darker trees. An easy way is to grab the dodge tool, look up here, make sure on midtones, exposure 20 to 40%, and just make a few passes, a few clicks. And actually while I'm doing it, maybe I want to click in here just a touch. So now that I've done that, I've got the photograph up to par photographically. Now let's add that gradient map. You can find the gradient map adjustment layer in the fourth icon at the bottom and then come up to gradient map. But personally, I love these icons up here. They're so visual based for artists. They're real easy to understand. They tell you what they are and it doesn't take but a moment to learn them. So I know that the gradient map is always in the bottom right corner. So let's go ahead and add that gradient map with the icon. First, look at my foreground background. I need black in the foreground and white in the background. So I'll toggle this arrow to toggle black back to the foreground. I'll come over to the gradient map, which is the last icon in the bottom corner, and it's going to add that above my levels adjustment layer. If it didn't for you, pull it to the very top because you want it on the top. And just single click on that gradient bar and it will launch the gradient editor for you. So you can go in here and toggle on all these different presets, but we want to custom select the gradient. The way you do that, come underneath this gradient bar and click, and it's going to add a color stop. It's going to mimic the color stop that's over here. Double click that color stop and you'll get the color picker. Now let's add blue. So I'll choose blue. And then I'll have to click all around in here until I find the blue that I want. I like that blue. I'll click OK. Then I'm going to come over to this side, add another color stop. And remember, it now is picking up the last color I did, which is shown in this little box. But to reset it, just double click that little color stop and you can choose a lighter blue. Click OK. Now I've created my own custom color, but I still have the power of varying this. I can grab that darker color and I can pull it to this direction to make things lighter. I can pull it over this direction to make things darker. I can skew the interrelationship of these colors to get the exact tonal and color information that I want. For instance, if you decide black is too strong to have in your color gradient, just double click on that black, go back to blue and choose like a dark blue instead of pure black so that it reads better in the scene. Let me show you how to create a split toning effect inside this gradient map. So go back and single click on this gradient here. And instead of keeping everything in the same color palette, I'm going to click in the highlight area. Remember, you've got to double click and I'm going to choose yellow. Choose a warm complementary color. Choose something subtle. Click OK. So now I have a contrasting scene with blues and yellows. This is where you have infinite possibilities to explore your own ideas and creativity. So go do it.
Yes!
Hey, what are you still doing here? It's over. Actually, all kidding aside, I hope this video helped. And if it did, consider subscribing. I like subscribers.
That's awesome! What? You just just took one in the jugular, man. Whoa. Yes! Oh my God, I did. This is
Hey, you stayed to the end. You know what that means? You're awesome. I'm talking about you. Now get out of here.